Okay, so Pierre Poilievre supporters, same as UCP supporters, and same as the conservative supporters of Doug Ford. So all the supporters of Pierre Poilievre, Doug Ford, Danielle Smith, and MAGA in the States, Donald Trump, have a certain MO, modus operandi. And you just go by the questions in the comments. It's pretty simple. The fact is they cannot look at real truths or different truths from their core beliefs. And here's one I have here, commenting on my the Kuzma hijacked by Poilievre and Smith, MAGA cons at work. So this person states, I've just been told that my previous comment concerning this idiot, this is how they talk, concerning this idiot spewing this garbage is not respectful, but yet he can say anything he wants about Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party. Double standard, I guess. It just goes to show you, people need to associate with a tribe, and it doesn't matter what color of tiger it is, they can only associate with a certain stripe, but that's their tribe. And that's how they feel comfortable because their mind can only go backwards. Mind doesn't go forward, it only just goes backwards. It's just a collector of data. It's the recorder and the reporter because, where do you think those thoughts come from? Of everything that's happened in the past. So you can keep living in the past. But here's the truth. The real truths, or these different truths that I present, and I'm going to show you how it affects some of these guys. So that's one there. And then let's look at this next one. Dan Armstrong. Sorry, buddy. They brought up a lot of good points. And this was because Alberta separatist Poilievre, Ford, Omega, DNA. And, there's various people that were discussing it. And he says, sorry, buddy, they brought up a lot of good points and you just dismissed them all. I'm sure I had a reason for it because I show truths that are different from the core beliefs that this gentleman, Dan Armstrong, I believe is a gentleman, couldn't maybe know. You never know with some of these Russian fakesters. And the Russian fakesters I've seen continually since 2015. And then he further states, I guess you are not going to get much traction. And he has a point. Because if you do not align with their core beliefs, and there's a lot of them, and they're staunch supporters, and you see that with the MAGA South down in the United States, and you see it up here because you see the cultural divide and the constant border situation, crime situation, and really, all they're doing is creating these things. All they're doing is creating this polarizing slogans and platitudes to be able to trigger your emotions so you can't think for yourself. So let's look at it from a different point of view now. No, but before we do, let's look at another example. This is Kuzma as well. Carney and his liberals need a break. They work so hard to destroy Canada. I don't know, last time I looked, we got a president of the United States that's putting tariffs on everybody on the world, goes into Venezuela, takes a guy out of Venezuela so he can take his oil, and then he just teams up with the Jews and bombs the crap out of Iran. That's the reality of things. So that's that one. Let's see another one here. And DLDS. Okay, so this is regarding also Kuzma. Why is Alberta separatists treated differently from Quebec separatists? If Alberta separates from Canada, that will be the end of the Conservative Party in Canada. Wouldn't that make you happy? It's like comparing an apple to an orange. If you understand Cartier, George Brown, and them reconstructing Lower Canada and Upper Canada, and this is when the French and British were at war, the French would have been wiped out, but instead of killing more people, they decided to create Upper Canada and Lower Canada. So you're trying to compare, and this is where some people don't even know what's happened to create what is the present, but they're just caught up in the game, and they they start associating with the tribe. It's just a tribal thing. You see it in the Phoenicians in Lebanon. You see it in the Shia in Iran and various other places. And that's all it is, tribalism. So I don't get much traction, and I won't get much traction because I present a different truth from what their core beliefs are. Here's another one. Why should Canadians outside of Alberta get to say what happens to Alberta lead? What a colonialist attitude. Interesting. Comments on the Alberta separatists con Canadians? Well, they've been conned. You know, the Americans have been trying to steal their oil since Standard Oil and Rockefeller, but, you know, I did a whole video on that, the history, but nobody understands. They can't wrap their head around it because they've been given a different narrative, because the people in Alberta want to create a different situation, just like Trump MAGA. He wants to do economic damage to Canada, so he makes up fentanyl. Fentanyl is dangerous, but it's not a real problem. Guns coming from the United States and smuggled into Canada is a problem. So anyways, the real truths, here's the real issue. Real truths are hard to digest because they trigger cognitive dissonance, creating a clash between core beliefs and the harsh realities presented to these people. And their ego's going to push back. So instead of the facts themselves, people often resist the uncomfortable work that they need to take or could take. Don't need to, it's up to them, it's their choice. And they resist the uncomfortable work, sacrifice, or behavioral changes required to accept and live with those truths and maybe alter and filter what comes in into something that is much more harmonious with everybody. And that's the real issue. So this is what I want to talk about. This is it. And this is why there's a problem with this MAGA movement in the States. It's a Christian nationalist movement as well. And it's strong in Alberta. It's been festering there for well over 5 decades. And the Conservative Party now is a combination of Canadian Alliance, Reform, and Wild Rose Party, and various other scatter groups. And this ideology is rampant. You got to remember, Alberta is only about 5 million people, and they seem to think their oil makes Canada rich. Just like Pierre Poilievre said, the consumer carbon tax, get rid of it, it'll make you rich. 3 months later, inflation ate up any savings you got by getting rid of it. So that's why I'm saying Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are using policies that created the affordability issues and the housing issues that we experience now. And if you keep applying what created the problem to try to fix the problem, you're just going to waste more time. But because it might be your tribe, you seem to think it's okay. You can start questioning things. You can start questioning how an economy really works, how money is created and moves through the system. And instead of this trickle-down effect, which hasn't worked, became strong during Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, it's proven it hasn't worked. You still keep trying to do that same way of doing things from the past into the present, and it didn't work in the past. So why would you apply it to now? It won't work. You just seen the U.S., big, beautiful bill, 4.5 trillion people to the rich people. 4.5 trillion went to the top 1 in 10%. You know, if you get a downturn or an economic crisis, do you think the top 1 in 10% won't be able to survive? What about the people that really need it? You build a house for the good foundation. You don't put the roof on first. And that's my point. So you can keep defaulting to pain and suffering. No need for pain and suffering. You can move to a position of benevolence, harmony, and abundance. That's all for now. Love and peace to everyone. Take care. Ciao. Questions, comments? Comments section.